Everybody, welcome in. It is Weasel Wednesday. I hope you're ready for some Melgard. How you doing, everybody? Omni, how you feeling?
I am feeling pretty good. I'm here with my friends. I'm ready to run some mouse guard, and honestly, could not be. That's a lie. I could definitely be fucking better. I'm not going to pretend I'm not going to be better. But I am happy to be here with you guys. There's no other way I'd want to spend the evening.
Love you, man.
So, let's run through what happened last session, and let's start same way we usually do. Whoever wants to go first, you know the drill. I give you points, and I give you your fate and your persona based on your answers. So, recap for us. Let's go.
I feel like I should probably go last, right?
I leave this in your capable hands, my friends. I
always go first. Somebody else goes first.
Somebody else go first. I'm eating Reese's Cups.
I could go first. So we picked up last session, where we had left off the session before that. I'm just trying to remember what that was.
This is a great recap now.
I think
Très bien.
We picked up where we left off.
the end.
So there we were. Très bien.
Sorry, the end of the last session and the beginning of the session after that always blended
Oh, that was
together
really
for
funny.
me. Basically, we're in the Mouse's Owl Town, which is up in a tree, and we had infiltrated there, Sayana and her party by disguise, and Dukan and his weasel buddies through being sneaky. And while there, their leader, the Hawk, arrived, and we realized that the mice who lived here are actually pretty nice, and we probably don't want to harm them. Also, their hawk leader is pretty cool too, as far as predators go. He's one of the least aggressive ones. So Dukan decided that he would go and parlay with the hawk to see if there was any possibility the hawk might be willing to help us overthrow the owls, or just at least not kill us when we pass through here. So he went to do that. Meanwhile, Sayana and her party kind of stayed behind and watched from afar as Dukan did that. And I'll let him get into all of that, but a crowd eventually gathered because they kind of all knew something was going on with the hawk. While we were watching, our owl mouse friend, who was kind of our guide, Trevor, I think his name is.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. He let Sayana know that he did in fact recognize her from a previous battle that they had with the owl mice, and kind of hinted that, hey, as long as you don't do anything, then we're not going to do anything either. So Sayana and her men just kind of stood by on guard, willing to jump in and help their weasel friend should they need to, but not just gonna immediately burst in and cause more trouble. And can let someone else pick up from there.
Sounds good. Your choice, fate or persona.
Let's see.
If you had a chance to fate, would
you fate?
Would you persona if you had a fate to change? Would.
Also, Derek, check the chat log and video. Check out the chat log and video. Yes, sorry. And also, thank you, Gigi. Good to see you.
Oh, hey, check it out. It's my sub-anniversary.
It's fine.
Wait, hold on. This is important.
Nice.
Yo, nice. Way to go, buddy.
Hell yeah, bro.
It is also mine. Sure.
Sub-anniversary day.
Yo, holy cannoli.
I would have
trained
more, but I had to start a new account because I got locked out of my old one.
Oh, I hate that so much.
Mhm.
You're welcome, pal. Just keep up the good work.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say something sarcastic, but I was like, no, I'll be genuine for once.
Good shit. I guess Red, it's on you now to describe what happens. You had a lot happen last session, as I recall.
Anyway, yeah, no, I had a lot happen. So I finished off that scout that was running away, and we were sort of like, that scout was gonna turn around and like shoot off a messenger whistle. We still don't know where they're from. We just know that they're not from the Hawk's domain. And I also discovered this scroll that Giles just sort of like witnessed the I believe it was an owl just ordering people to go and do things, if I remember correctly. It was very like, I remember being vivid in the moment, but now it's kind of like misty. I guess it's perfectly in character for Giles. And it also skipped a bunch of time for Giles. I think you said like 2, 3, 4 hours just like kind of went by like that. They just kind of experienced this. The reference I made was from Metal Gear Solid 5 when you smoke the cigar and it goes, "Wah!" It like passes time. Yeah, that's what happened. And he goes back over. He's like, "Oh goddamn, the tree! I want to make sure the tree is still getting sawed down because priority." So we went back. The tree is not quite sawn down, and Giles is just like, "Okay, we're making enough progress to where it should be just good enough to where we could, if with effort, we could probably knock it over by sundown." And then the Hawk just like looked me dead in the eyes from afar, and I looked him dead in the eyes through my spyglass, and my scout saw him through. And Giles is just like, "I'm gonna do it anyway." So he just like keep sawing, and when he realized that the Hawk was flying out to him, he was gonna like, he'd stop sawing, and they stopped sawing, and the Hawk was just like, "Stop this!" And Giles was like, "Okay," and. And of course, I was being harassed, assailed, otherwise brutalized, and just generally just bullied by Sienna, of course, as usual. Nothing new. She was just like, "Giles, how dare you start doing something tactically advantageous for us?" And Giles is like, "I'm sorry, I'll never be tactically advantageous again."
The last time, in her defense, the last time you tried to be tactically advantageous, she got an earful from Gwendolyn.
Last time I was tactically advantageous, I pushed a rock over and a bunch of idiots that got what was coming to them. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and those idiots saw you.
Yeah, but not okay. The fact that they know makes it even better because they know that is just the start. That is the pebble to my boulder in the literal and metaphorical sense.
Oh my god.
I will rain rocks from the skies like hailstone.
I will give you your persona and fate. I thought that was an excellent recap, but I'm not here to relitigate 8 sessions ago, folks. We're here for this session. Derek, it sounds like it's on you, buddy.
Giles, he who pushes rocks. Rock pusher. It's a great title.
No, I got you.
You're muted.
I am so fucking stupid. It's
I mean,
painful sometimes.
Saul said
I
that,
didn't
I
say
don't
anything.
know.
I didn't say anything of substance yet. Don't worry, folks. I was just kind of biting for time while I collected my thoughts.
I'm
Okay.
so sorry, buddy.
That's cool. Thank you. Okay, so we, me and my infiltration party of weasels and Cole met with the leader of the village of Vinecrawl. He is a hawk, and he is very big and very scary. He did not take that much kindness to us breaking into where he lives, but we also did not do too terrible of a job of explaining ourselves and laying out who we were and what our interests were in being in his city, which was to say I wanted to turn him against his sworn liege lords, which isn't that big of a deal when you're a weasel, to be quite fair. But also, this guy did not take very kindly to that. In front of all of his mice, gave him an ultimatum of basically choosing his people or his honor, and he told me that he cannot just go and do things because he's got these runic inscribings that kind of bond his. I don't know if it's just it. For all I know, right now, it's just his corporeal being to his word. That is to say, his birdly body. And he told me that he will meet us on the field of battle, and that will be able to sever the bonds of honor and duty.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thumbs up for Fader Persona. You all did great last session, and I'm very proud of how you handled that situation. So I feel like we will pick up where we left off. So, as far as the evening goes, you all have one evening to prepare in advance of this attack. He has told you that it is about a mile away from where you all are, which will take most of like a morning to hike to. And the guards, after the hawk leaves, after Seer flies away, inform you that you will be allowed to stay and vine crawl without needing to disguise yourselves or anything. You'll be given accommodations and allowed to rest. Your tortoise is allowed to stay at the bottom of the trees, even though those aren't particularly well policed. They're, close enough to the interior where they're probably safe. So you're given the evening to consider what your plans are. I figure they probably give you like an entire one of those little mushroom homes, as I've shown before, and I will show again because I feel it's a very important little thing for me to display. Vinecrawl itself is made of dozens of different little mushroom caps, all of which sticking out into the tree line. And so as a result, it leaves you with a large amount of space to work on and live on. Your tortoises can't fit on there, but all your troops could easily fit on one of these platforms. So, they give you one of these and leave you to it. What do you all do for the night?
So we better discuss what we're going to do about the hawk.
What
That is
is to
something we could do.
discuss?
Well, do we intend to try and break its spines or just kill it?
Perhaps Sayana does not understand deep magic. Dukan does not understand it. But he knows that the hawk is bound to his word. He can't just do what he wants.
Right, but it sounded as though if we were to cage him or secure him in some type of way and become his new masters, he would be under our would be bonded to us.
Aye, but consider this. It's a far better statement to kill him.
Dukan would
No,
prefer
but
to have him as an ally.
If we can do this, what makes you think that our enemies won't attempt the same thing?
I think for the time being, it's best to try and bind him instead of killing him and angering his people.
More about making a statement. I think capturing one of them would also anger his people. Just as much, if not more. Those things value freedom.
To cage one like Seer feels a crime. Dukan does not wish him to be bound to our word. Dukan wishes him to be free and to choose to join us. Dukan believes he would, if he could. If not only to get back his ancestral homeland, which does rightfully belong to him.
You just said you don't know how to break his bond. That sounds like the only way to accomplish what you're suggesting.
Besting him in combat. Yes.
Kill him. At least get close to it.
Seems the only option.
Far
A
down
tree.
below you, at the base of the trees, you hear a as multiple horns go off in the distance, and the has reached Vinecrawl. They did say
You're roboting out, so we can't hear you.
gotcha. All right, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Video. I don't know why you hate human life, but you seem to continue to persist in that hatred. So, after a couple of minutes pass, you hear in the distance a at the bottom of the trees, and at the sound of horns, you realize the Mouse Guard expedition has reached Vinecrawl. They were a couple hours behind you, but in all the chaos, either it might have slipped your mind, or you simply were, not really thinking about it with the more pressing matters at hand. And so below you can hear some hustling and bustling, but no weapons fire, no shouts to the guards. They seem to know that they were coming. So below, in the distance, you can see the very clear and obvious silhouette of the walking ship, the Invicta, and a number of tortoises walking by, including the large ones with the Hedgems, and also Gwendolyn's personal one.
We should tell Gwendolyn, yes.
I'm muted. Absolutely.
Oh, you think? He's not saying that sarcastically. He's being genuine. Like, do you really think we should tell her?
I think
If we-
she will be. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Just gonna say, I think she'd be upset if we don't.
Oh, I she would, but shouldn't we at least come up with somewhat of a plan so we can deliver it to her, rather than just giving her a bunch of gobbledygook that don't mean nothing?
She will understand.
No.
Oh, she was so understanding of my strategies.
This is not strategy.
Oh,
This
pray
is-
tell what it is then. We are fighting an enemy and talking about fighting the enemy. I think that is a definition of strategizing.
Dukan believes the term is Hail Mary.
No, it ain't
Who's
going.
Mary?
We can come up with a plan.
Saint Mary of Wolfram is one of the very few not often talked about saints, but she's in the pantheon somewhere.
You know, Dukan,
I've been hanging out with your boys sometimes, I picked up.
if you're going to quote things from my pantheon, I'd like you to know that Saint Mary is a bit of a black sheep. We call somebody a Black Mary when they haven't got a plan and they're a bit daft in their head. We ain't running in all willy-nilly. We know how to fight these things. Please don't.
Dukan would prefer to avoid ceaseless bloodshed on behalf of Vinecrawl. They could be reinforcements to our forces.
War is war is war. If it happens, it happens. It's unfortunate, but I don't plan on ceaseless bloodshed. I plan on taking the head out, much like that snake that the two of you handled.
That snake was not the same as this hawk is.
Right, it's got wings.
Look, Gwendolyn has been doing this for a very long time. If we're talking strategy, then she can certainly help us with that.
Well, I want to be at the table for that, regardless of whether or not she has any respect for me. I fought things like this myself. So. You're more Scottish, I'm doing Irish. They're very similar.
We send Cole. He will fetch Gwendolyn.
Of course, sir. My pleasure. Then he bows and immediately leaps down onto one of the zip lines nearby. Cole's very comfortable, apparently, at these heights. Something about being a tender paw really means it makes heights more appealing than when you get older and more, a little bit less. You don't
Bouncy?
bounce as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. You took it out of my mouth. After a few minutes, and by a few minutes I mean like about 20 additional minutes of conversation, there's a knock on the door, and you would hear you'd hear one of the guards from Vinecrawl. There's a matriarch to see you all. Should I allow her in?
I look at him like he said a dumb question.
What are you, bloody daft?
The guy just looks at you with the owl markings on his face and the clear Beast Kingdom memorabilia. I don't know what your matriarch is to you.
To me, to Dukan, nothing. To them, but she is wise and powerful. Dukan would not try to resist letting her go where she chooses.
You said it yourself, lad. You said matriarch. Bet you can figure that one out.
It's what I get for asking my guests. Sorry, go ahead, Santa.
Please excuse my companions. They don't know their manners. Yes, please do let her in. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. He would go and open the door, and in would walk Gwendolyn of the Mouse Guard, along with a familiar other face that you haven't seen in, at this point, a couple of weeks. Cedric.
Cedric!
Old man Cedric.
Oh boy. Old man.
So-
He's like 40.
He's falling apart.
He's always been gray. He's always been gray fur. That's not age. That's just hair color.
He's just on his way out.
So, Gwendolyn walks into the room along with Cedric in tow, and at the door you can see Saxon, Gwendolyn's husband, and would be, I guess that'd be Housecarl, and he takes a position at the door right next to the guard from Vinecrawl, who kind of gives him this look like, sup. And you can see they just sort of exchange like head nods before the doors close. And Gwendolyn and Cedric sort of look around the room. Gwendolyn speaks up. All right. So, it appears as though as if your scouting expedition has been more eventful than we'd hoped.
Fruitful is the word Dukan would choose.
He nods proudly. Like he's actually proud of what he accomplished here today.
Yes, it's certainly gone quite differently than we expected.
It's been something. It's been a whole lot of something.
Dukan has secured that we will not have open warfare with this city.
Yes.
So far, it appears they are holding to their word. They welcomed us as guests. Our tortoises are being fed. And while they have no stables large enough, we are allowed to dwell at the bottom of the trees. They've even allowed us to carry our weapons about. Although, they do appear to be somewhat more guarded. Reasonably. If an unknown foreign force marched into Lockhaven, I'd be far less accommodating. So,
Dukan does not blame them.
neither do I. However, I have yet to meet the actual lord of this kingdom. This hawk. Tell me of him.
Seer, the Hawk Lord calls himself. Dukan will cut to the chase. He is bound with ancient magic. His word and his bond are sworn to the owls. That is why he must be defeated.
When you say defeated, do you mean slain?
Disabled, one way or another.
Dukan hopes not slain.
Can always clip his wings.
Dukan lets out this like hearty like snort of disapproval at that. Like,
Giles has like a strangely unfathomable hatred of birds.
I fucking hate birds.
Even by like the past 2.5 months of experiences that Giles has had, I would say it is a very well-founded dislike. But there's more to it, for sure.
100%, yeah.
Gwendolyn nods at your appraisals, then turns to Sienna. Has he described what precisely bounds him, or is he being evasive about it?
Bit of both. He's bound in word, it seems, to these owls, and as the weasel mentioned, some type of magical bonding, I believe, on his wings.
Well, Cedric, it sounds like you're going to have to do some work after all. And Cedric would nod. Right. Give me a moment. I just need to dig it out. And he kneels down and unrolls a satchel. And Dukan,
Mm-hmm.
make me a will roll.
Yep.
You know what's in those.
Yep. Okay, give me a second. -1 from angry.
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
Perpetually guts mode. Quit closing.
Super angry.
Fucking furious, bro.
Oh, if I pass this, my will goes up though. Let's go.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at that. Your will and your health are like right on the edge of going up. That's pretty
On
good.
the edge of glory,
Let's
and
see,
I
what did you get?
might have just passed.
That's a pass. That's a
Oh
pass.
hell yeah!
Well done.
I'm getting better every day.
You-
Let's
just like Win Dixie. So
Who?
that's a fun dig to make because wow, you know how hard you had to fuck up when that is speaking your motto. Anyway, so you recognize these cloaks as the cloaks you found at the very beginning of the campaign, and though you have been in their presence before, every time is a bit of a shock. There's a natural revulsion to their existence. The way I describe it is, it's like walking past a mass grave. Like, there is never comfort in that. And the fact that you have, representing in those cloaks, 3 of Mousekind's most dangerous, and by your kind's most hated generals. It is a pretty reasonable reaction. But you've experienced their presence before, and even actually, have you? I don't think you.
I have been around them several times actually.
You have been around them several times, but I'm not sure you've seen them in use. I think every
I've seen him coming down and put in dawning.
that is true. So, Cedric reaches through, and eventually he finds, of the 3 cloaks, the orange, red, and blue, he pulls out a blue cloak. And he sort of puffs it out, and there's a puff of dust off of it. And a smell not unlike decayed parchment and old, spoiled ink. And it just fills the room. And even though, like, the area that you're on is basically a carved-in hole in a tree, and the rest of it is an awning onto a mushroom into open air, the smell permeates very strong for a second. Or Cedric just takes his own cloth off, folds his cloak up neatly on the ground, and then taking a look around the room, and then taking a look at you specifically, Dukan. He then, thinking better of it, puts his weapons over by his cloak as well. And then he reaches on and clicks the blue cloak on. And there is a gust of wind, and you hear a cracking as his whole body sort of like full like grand mal seizes and goes slack. And slowly he straightens back up. And from within his eyes, you can see this deep pit of blue light. Very distant, almost like a soft glowing candle. If you've ever been in a night in the woods of the forest, far away from civilization, you know how sensitive you become to light.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like picking out a dim star amongst a very vivid night sky. And so, this creature wearing Cedric's skin looks out at you from Cedric's eyes. A weasel. What have I missed? Slowly turns and looks over at Gwendolyn. A lord of the Mouse God. My service is yours, matriarch. And then looks around the room. As is yours, brave guard. Tell me, why does the enemy of my people dwell within this chamber? And Gwendolyn says, not your enemy. Distant lands, new alliances. And by my order, no harm shall come to them. Very well. Who am I to second-guess the will of a matriarch? What have need for Matthias here? And Gwendolyn would gently gesture towards Cedric, whose body is like still not properly like standing. It's almost like he's being held upward by strings, like someone's puppeteering him, like invisibly. Ask your questions. I hate to see Cedric like this any longer than he has to be. And the creature looks at all of you. What has transpired that you have need of me?
I'm not talking to him.
Well,
I mean, fucking fair.
there's that. Go on then, Sienna. You're better at talking than I am.
I suppose. We find ourselves in a conundrum. There is a predator leader, a hawk, who is bound to some owls who are far more vicious than he is. And the only way to progress and save his people and continue our journey is to either kill him, remove his bindings, or trap him somehow. And we are unsure of what to do. There's also a cat on the loose.
So, the thing that calls itself Matthias looks around the room and hears what you're saying. And you can see as you're saying it, even though this is a ghost of a mouse, not truly a living one, the affectations of the living still apply to the dead. And as it listens, its eyes run around the room until it finds a table and it grabs a ream of, like a roll of parchment out from what would have been Cedric's bag and brings it over. He takes his finger up and begins to trace it on the paper, and you can see there's a soft blue fog that lifts off wherever his fingers have gone. And it leaves behind markings on it. And as you describe it, he continues to draw it until eventually you see he's drawn a very rough anatomical sketch of like a bird, like very simple. Kind of like if you've ever seen like an aerodynamic chart of a plane where it just shows like this is how the wings work. That's basically what he's done with the bird. There's no like feathers or anything, but you can see like the leading edges and stuff. And on it, you can see he's drawn very similar runes to what you saw engraved on the underside of Seer's wings. Like this, perchance.
I believe so.
It is some craven, foul magic you speak of. Beast castings, bindings. The ancient kingdoms of this land, which you'll forgive me for making the presumption, matriarch, but I assume you have returned home if you speak of somewhere distant. And she just nods. As I surmised. Well, back to where I died, I suppose. Regardless. Beasts maintain the order of nature in the face of the rising intellect and civilizations of smaller creatures, often through arcane bindings of lords within their kingdoms. It is not always so, but that which they cannot bind with threat of violence, they bind with magic.
Dukon can't help himself and kind of like scoffs at that idea. Like, to him, it's like, I think he would even say as much that
They cannot live by honor, so they take the will of those that would be over them.
To a degree, yes. These binding contracts, these caste chains, are designed to preserve order. I know very little of your kind, but I know of foxes, and I know of owls, and the beasts of this place. And there was a time long before even the beast kingdoms arose, of chaos, where nothing could grow, and entire peoples were annihilated to sate the thirst of endlessly voracious predators. So much so they would consume one another. Foxes would empty out dens of rabbits, rabbits would displace serpents, serpents would gut entire cities and towns of mice, and bears would destroy large swaths of forest just to kill anything they could get their hands on. Yes, it is a dark time, but this was a concession. Serfdom, as opposed to annihilation. I cannot speak to it now. It was always a barbaric practice, at least in my eye. However, hearing you speak of it, Weasel, and he reaches up and goes to adjust glasses, and then realizes he doesn't have any, and then just lowers his hand. You don't sound like the ones from my era. So mayhaps beasts have changed. Or at least mayhaps weasels may have grown into something greater than barbarous warriors.
Not by much.
He pauses and looks at you. And he sort of smiles. At least Wolfrabites continue to be frank.
Got my reputation precedes me.
Wolfram was one of the original tribes that left this land. I know not what became of it. I died before I could make the journey. He looks around the rest of you. These bindings are quite potent. They cannot be broken willfully by the wearer. They must be sundered, defaced, either by intention or action. Could you draw the exact runes you saw again, or attempt it? It would help me find a counter. And he presses the parchment towards you three on a nearby table.
You're just like me, for real. Trying to dispel magic. Oh my god.
It's Vauntmouse.
Mouse. Yeah, baby, Mouse. Can I get a V in chat for Vaunt?
So he's looking at you all. For this roll, I'm going to say, if you wish to attempt it, it will either be Instructor, Scout, or for this one, I'm willing to say Healer.
is it a group roll?
This is for each of you to do individually, but if you want to do it as a group roll, you most assuredly can.
Total scout.
I was gonna say,
Who is healer, scout, and what was the first?
Healer, scout, or instructor. Those are your three options.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I don't think I ever like got a good chance to stare at these runes, so I don't.
Yeah, you really only saw him for a moment, and he showed his wings, I think, to Dukan primarily.
Yeah.
These are kind of engraved in like the inline of his wing, so they're not visible unless he spreads them. Okay. Let's see. So right now we're looking at 3 successes. Did you guys want to explode those?
Yeah.
This is a rough roll.
Sure.
Or not.
More success out of that.
Okay,
I didn't get a very good look.
that's fair.
I didn't either.
4 was the requirement, by the way. So you did
Cool.
succeed. It's by a narrow margin.
Nice.
Matthias produces from the little satchel a small vial of ink with a quill, and from the slightly smoking depiction he's drawn, you can see that the runes he drew on the bird disappear as you begin to sort of draw, and each of you kind of like add bit to bit and go like, no, that symbol wasn't there, that symbol was there. Oh, right, of course, and like slightly move them around a little bit, like no, that's different shape. It's like a curve. Oh, of course. And like back and forth until eventually the two of you realize you've done a pretty good job replicating it. It isn't perfect, but you're pretty sure you got most of the major runes. Like, it's almost like they were kind of burned in your memory. It was very stunning to see them. It almost was like brands, or like they'd been carved into its flesh. It was very shocking, and it's probably why it's stuck in your head. And he takes them and turns them around and pulls it towards him. Owl magic. Well, that does explain it. Very thorough. The diction is interesting. Puts it down and spreads it. There's been a change of dialect since I've been alive, clearly. But the runes read relatively the same. A statement of intent. Will. Made into magic. Bound by blood. This covenant was willing. At some point. I can't speak to now. But whenever it was cast, in its first implementation, this was a willful binding, which makes it all the more powerful. To defeat it, you do need to deface it. But you will not deface it by carving into their flesh. The runes appear only as a result of intention. They will disappear upon their severance. However, the burden will be great. Whoever this is bound to will experience great pain when it is broken. I hope they are of good health. The shock could kill them. However, if you seek to break it, then you will need to fell the beast. The exact words are, so long as the beast flies, it will fly in my wing. Thus, you must bring it to the ground. I leave that on you on how to decide to do it. But from what this appears to be, this is a great predator bird, not some small songbird. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
It is a hawk.
And your work is cut out for you. Hunting hawks is not easy. To do so required many weeks of preparation from my people. Nets, ropes, javelins, torches, crossbows, and ballistae. Did your people bring weapons of war with you?
We did.
You will need them. Or a very cunning mouse with a very good plan.
In your time, Do they have fire lances?
He pauses. Firelance. No. An interesting term, however. I think I can derive meaning from it. I presume
Hedgerows.
chemical fire, correct?
Dukan does not pretend to understand how this works. It may as well be the magic that binds this hawk. But its destructive force is great.
My recommendation would be a net. If you wish to slay the hawk, you may use such implements. If you are creative, maybe you can find some way of using this chemical fire, which, again, am I wrong in my presumption? And he looks over at Gwendolyn and you guys, and just seeing you guys kind of do like the face, and seeing Gwendolyn just like shake her head in that tired, like, God, please stop. Right.
Thumbs up.
It could be propulsion. You could use it to subdue the beast if you can find a way to create a powerful enough net and deploy it. Such a trick may only work once, though. Hawks are cunning, canny, and very good at operating within their environment.
Duquan has a question. Do they hold grudges?
All things that live, breathe, and think hold grudges. Once the first mouse learned to speak and taught the second, I am sure the third harbored thoughts of murder.
He may not like being hit with a net.
His will is irrelevant to you if you seek to break that curse. To free him, you must bind him to the earth at least once. And he must stay there and submit.
Dukan looks to the other two mice.
I think once he realizes that we are helping him in a way, or succeed in helping him, he will see it as a good thing and not want to kill us.
Giles pulls out his prodigious pipe that just kind of like speaks volumes. Just like the longer, there's an old Wolfram adage about the longer he's a bit long in the pipe, because the longer your smoking pipe is, typically the older you are. And he pulls it up, puts it betwixt his two front teeth as he like manages to strike it up, and he's like talking through his two like pincer like teeth. You know, we had these things that we used to take down birds with.
My God, you're old.
I'm withering away just listening to you, lass.
Can I just say, I like the idea that it's like a multi-part pipe, like you have to take it out in 2-3 pieces and then screw it together.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Different mouthpiece, and like you gotta put wax on it. And
it's like a fucking flute. It's like there's like 3 stages to the thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a mouthpiece. There's a filter. Yeah, no, 100%. Cork. There's a cork filter. Oh yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So, and he lets out this really long drag through his mouth and his nose. Sky snaps. What we'd do is we'd climb way up under the trees, and we'd use really thin fabric, hard to see stuff from silkworms or spiders, whichever we got to submit first. We'd weave them back and forth, and they'd fly into them, get stuck, and we'd knock the trees down. Which I just so happen, along with my forces, to have one of the trees already halfway knocked down. So, we're halfway there.
Such an idea could work, in theory. All right.
Birds don't... You see, in my experience, I'd like to make a roll because I don't know if he would actually know this or not. I was going to say that birds, eyesight is based upon movement. I know that out of character, but I don't know that in character, so I'd like to make...
Are we in
No,
Jurassic
no, no.
Park now?
Raptors are. Same thing-
Raptors do search
yeah.
for movement. It's
Yeah.
not quite like dinosaurs, where like the idea, like the goofy idea in Jurassic Park, where I'm gonna stand perfectly still in front of this T-Rex and it's not gonna eat me. They're not dumb. If a steak is delivered to them, they will absolutely take up the table. But like at a great distance of kilometers in height, yes, they do look for motion. That is true. So yeah, make me for this one hunter roll.
Oh boy.
Yeah. This is literally hunting 101. This is the world of beasts in their domain.
Hunter. Can I use nature?
You wouldn't. So, do you have anything in hunter? No, you do not. So, yes, you would be making a nature roll.
Guess I'm a war mouse.
Yeah, you would be making. Actually, if you wanted to use nature, you would need to roll 1 die. If you use nature, I should say not nature. If you wanted to use hunter, you'd be rolling 1 die. However, if you roll nature, then yes. If you succeed on nature, I will let you add 1 success to your hunter. If you fail on your nature, I will reduce it.
Could I add wild country wise to this?
Yes, that will be applicable.
Can I add that to the nature roll?
And therein lies the trick. No. You have to
So-
go. You either go with your nature or you go with hunter and wild country wise. So either 4 dice with a risk of loss or 2 dice with no risk of loss. And also your wild country wise is pretty close to 6 to like leveling up on passes alone.
Yeah.
So, but at
So
least
if I used hunter and wild country wise, hunter would give me 1 because I don't really have anything in it, or would it not give me anything at all?
it would give you 1 die temporarily for this roll.
Okay, so I don't technically have a rating in it though.
Correct. You're at 0 for this. So you are using an untested skill.
So
I'm
the
assuming
wild
your
country
character
wise
has
is-
like historically done this kind of stuff before, but it's probably fallen under the context of militarist or fighter in the past. You've been trained to do this kind of thing. But what you're talking
Right.
about now is purely natural understanding.
that, and Giles has probably forgotten more than a lot of the mice in the room have learned. So
Not to mention you're in a new land. Same rules may not apply. Ask the Galapagos Islands how birds differ from island to island, and you made a distance much further between one of those isles.
right. So this would be just 2d6 if I rolled with wild country wise with hunter, because
You have wild country wise, and then the third one for the base of hunter for the base of your hunter roll that you don't have.
Okay, I'll
So-
roll that then.
Yeah.
3 successes.
That's more than enough. Add a success box to both hunter. Actually, no. On this one, that would just bring you up to 1 immediately. So
Oh, cool.
you're now hunter 1, and you also get
Yeah.
your wild country wise leveled up as well.
Nice.
Cool. I already ticked it up.
I always encourage my players to try to use rolls at least once. Worst thing that'll happen is they get a failure in it, and then they fill it up, and then they get it, or they get a success and they get a base 1. So never hurts.
Fine by me. So, Giles is, in my experience, hawks of that ilk, raptors, vision's based on movement. So if the trap is nice and taut, they're not gonna see it until it's way too late. So the trick there is we have our forces behind it, or we could take the extra time and set them up on a bunch of trees. But I think just one, it'd be ideal. Great sort of a funnel.
I have one final thing to tell you of this plan, though. With all due deference to the matriarch, and he bows deep and then turns to you all. For this to work, if he has issued the challenge to you, you 3 must direct this action yourselves. You cannot delegate it. You can use troops, but they must be under your command, not the matriarch's or her patrol leaders. And she raises an eyebrow. And why on earth is that the case, Matthias? Because this is a challenge of wills. issued by the Bound. From what I understand, we all merely arrived here not too long ago, which leaves you three the ones that made contact. Am I wrong? Then unless the Hawk extended that contest to everyone in the expedition, it binds you three. At the end, he must submit to you, not your armies. You.
Fine by me. All my troops listen to me anyway. Take another
Fine.
long drag. Just-
A final warning as well. When you break this, whoever casts this upon him will know immediately. It will not be a slow revelation. It will be like an amputation. They will be well aware that this hawk is no longer under their sway. Plan accordingly.
Hope it's that bloody owl. Need to off him anyway.
An owl? What know you of this?
Oh, there's an owl here. And I may be a bit off my head, but I believe I saw him in a vision. And I was already told prior information about being an owl out here. So I'm putting using some logical conclusions there.
Can you tell me what kind of owl?
What did it look like? Did it look like a barn owl that had those like really big, like concave kind of eyes? Yeah, so
It was a massive barn owl. Huge.
What would it be called? Well, barns don't exist anymore, so what would it be called? A noble
So,
owl?
technically the term would be barn owl because it actually, believe it or not, has nothing to do, I don't believe it has anything to do with barns. The name existed prior. It's some old English term.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure, but failing that, the term barn owl is
Probably
used.
like a barn owl or something.
I'll double check that, but I believe it's tied to that. Let me make sure.
I can't
I got
remember.
nerves.
Probably
Thrown
just
anyway.
like forest owl
I don't want to
before
be left
then.
I mean, you
Oh.
know, let's see. Name, meaning. There we go.
I believe
Sleep in
it's
abandoned
called a
barns, which is where they get
homeless
the names.
owl.
I guess I was wrong. If that's the case, we'd still call them barn owls. I imagine in this instance, we'll call it that because simply put, they keep their own barns. Simple as that. So,
They
They invented
invented
the
probably,
barn.
yeah, they probably did. Because I do
James's
know for the
barn.
record, in the comics, they do canonically refer to an owl as a barn owl. So the term does exist in the setting. So I'm going to assume it's because they invented the concept of barning and housing animals, likely as prey.
Oof.
That's a fun little bit of world building that we just made together.
Sounds
Well,
like
it just
some shit I would come up with.
went from funny to
Yeah, just a
depressing.
little bit. So yes, you would know this is a massive barn owl, probably twice the size of most. I would say a case of gigantism at the very least. But knowing that this thing has magic on its side, it could be some dread force acting through it, or on it, or it's just swollen on whatever magic it's got access to. I mean, hell, the Vicar was fucking massive. That thing should not have been. That's like not a natural snake. Snakes, like even its variety, don't get that big, and the ability to lift that much of its body off the ground with muscle alone. That's
How tall is this thing? Like, I'm not gonna use like actual feet. I would say like how like is it like 10 mice is tall? Mice?
It's about 10 mice tall.
Yeah, so it's pretty. It's like 20 inches tall. So it's like almost 2 feet in height. Yeah.
I'd say even taller. I'd say probably 25 to 30. This thing is big. This thing is big enough where it would need to be careful where it lands.
Fair enough. I'd wager the thing was 20, 30. 30 mice tall. Barn owl. With those big concave eyes. You could eat soup out of.
Yes. Ah, that explains. My host recalls face paint on the guard at the door. He sort of gestures to Cedric's face, and you can see like the hand is like numbly touching it, like it's clearly not its body. That would make sense then. Be careful. Most magic is derived from some source. There's the natural world, there's life, and there's death. The final one is will. Those are the four cores of magic. It sounds like you're describing a barn owl to me. In my experience, they draw their magic from the dead, which is unfortunate for us, as they are very good at making the thing that empowers their magic. I understand that weasels and other predators have a tradition of leaving large open graves for their slaughtered foes, so their souls may escape upwards. In my era, it is not uncommon for barn owls to swoop above such sites and capture the magic of the dead.
This would be regarded in weasel culture as a dick move.
Just so. Have you any other questions for me? I grow weary, and I wish to sleep again.
This magic that these predators all bind themselves and one another with. Say a weasel was bound with such fate. What would become of him?
Depend on the magic. Depend on the spell. He would give you a look, and I'm going to roll this off table so you can't see his stats. He looks through you, and you can, for a brief second, his eyes lock with you, and you see what he truly is. A skeleton, with barely any rags of flesh left on him. Adorning his head, a great blue carapace, made out of beetle carapace, headdress, and in his hands, a wand. In his chest, where his heart should be, a glowing blue ember, and his mouth locked open in a rictus mouse grin. And he looks over at you, through you, and you see through Cedric's body this thing in his eyes. And he points at you. What has been done to you, Predator? And who did it?
A serpent named the Vicar cursed Dukan with his dying breath.
It slowly lifts off the ground, because it really hasn't been walking. You see a little more clearly now. It's been kind of just dragging the body. Again, not unlike a puppet. You can imitate walking, but you can't really walk. You're just sort of lifting it above and making its legs dance. And in this case, it doesn't even bother to mimic the motion. It just sort of drags Cedric's knuckles of his paws across the wooden flooring beneath you with a sound as it comes closer to you and extends Cedric's hand. Show me your chest, weasel.
I was muted. God motherfucking damn it. I walk up to the mouse and I undo my equipment, my harness that I keep all my armaments on, and I let the mouse do what he's going to do.
He nods. This will not be pleasant. And he reaches a hand over, and he goes to put it on your chest, and it sinks through your skin and into your chest cavity. There's no pain, but cold. Unrelenting, icy cold. And after a second, he pulls his hand out. It is magic, but not a curse. To call it a blessing would be wrong. I imagine you and Cedric have a lot to talk about now. You appear to have a passenger on board.
Is it the vicar?
It is powerful and old, and it is full of rage, and yet curious. I think whatever did this to you, you impressed it. There's an adage amongst beasts in my era. There is no shame in being eaten. The only shame is in what eats you. I suspect that this vicar, you call it, chose to be bound to you. It sees you as dangerous enough. Consider it a compliment, though you may not find it a welcome one. In time, you will have to decide through action and will which of you two will become the passenger.
Can it be exploited? If Dukan reaches out to this passenger, can Dukan take from it power?
The binding between you and this creature, from what I can see, is not that different from that of the owls to the hawk. The vicar has bound itself to you. It submitted, likely in death. So, yes, you could, but bear in mind, that submission can be turned. Serpents are tricky. Not all beasts' magic is the same, and these creatures can double back on themselves, rewrite contracts with power and fresh intent. If you wish to use this, you must be on your guard, for this creature will always haunt your steps, until you either slay it one last time, or you truly fall to it.
Dukan very seriously looks at Sayana and Giles.
If we are to take on Seer, Dukan does not believe there is any other choice to be made. Dukan will fight, whatever it takes. Dukan will not become the serpent he slayed.
If it makes you feel better, it sleeps. Death takes a lot out of one. And he sort of gives you a gentle pat on the chest, and you can feel the hand is ice cold. I would know. Speak of, and he slowly floats back over towards where where Cedric's cloak is. This cloak is disgusting. If someone could do me a favor and launder it once, it would not diminish the magic. I am not my kin. I rather like being clean. When you have need of me, matriarch, call me again. Until then, let me sleep. And you just hear this. Cedric exhales, and his body hits the ground. And for a second, he seems dead. And then there's another grand mal seizure as his whole body twitches. And I'm never going to get used to that. Tell me he did something worthwhile. That was uncomfortable. He slowly pushes himself back onto his feet.
He was quite helpful.
I'd say so. Helpful enough, I think.
Gwendolyn would nod, then walk past Cedric and pat him on the shoulder. Come, Cedric. If they are to win, they must do so alone. The Spectre made it very clear. She turns around before she leaves the room. You have command of your tortoises. I give you purview command of at least one more, as well as also a detachment of Hedgems. The engineers are yours to use as you need. The rest, I fear, would invalidate your challenge. Good luck.
We will not fail.
Thus far, you have not. Good work. She walks to the door and opens it.
All that thought.
She pauses.
I need a blacksmith.
She turns around. I can get you the best Hedgem blacksmith I can acquire.
Good.
See to it yourselves. You have my writ of mark. Take what you need. Again, one further tortoise, and a small group of Hedgems are yours to command. And she also then pauses. And of course, the weasels remain under your command, Dukan.
Yukon like kind of bows.
Good luck. She walks to the door and walks through it. And Cedric slowly stands up and gathers up his cloak and his armor and weapons, puts them back on. And then he, when he gets to the door and turns, and he slowly closes it, but then before he quite fully closes, he peeks his head back around. And if it comes between you and that hawk, make it the hawk. I'm not losing my patrol. Click. Leaving you three in the cool night air. And I will take this moment to say, does anyone need to take a bio break? Because it's been almost an hour. It's been over an hour.
Can I have a one-liner for the bio break?
Fuck yes.
Do what you need, Giles. Sayana. Dukan must sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with more Mouse Guard. back, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for sitting tight and waiting patiently. I really do appreciate it. Omni, what's happening?
You're unmuted, right there.
I'm not muted. I'm not.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. It's my curse. I'm passing it around. It's like a potato. Someone else is gonna get it. It's a hot potato. Thank you very much, Derek. So
Thank you, buddy.
the evening comes and goes. I'm going to just immediately make it so that whatever preparations you guys need to make, now is the time to make them. So, what's the plan, folks?
I gotta talk to a snake.
Okay. There's part of me that wonders, do you even know how? Okay.
I don't know. I remember he told me that he'll see me in my dreams. So I'm taking that literally.
You'll be here in my heart.
Yes, you'll be in my heart.
If only it was as simple as a Phil Collins song.
No, it's only as bad as his receding hairline
Oh boy. Okay.
in the
So-
80s.
Yes, very fair.
He's very bad.
So I'm just gonna make sure I got this right. So it's persistence. We'll go with that. Okay. So
I'm wearing a Phil Collins shirt right now. I didn't even realize that.
amazing.
I'm actually wearing a Phil Collins shirt.
in fairness, I was absolutely jamming out to Genesis the other day. So Okay. So Dukan, we're gonna focus on you before we go to everyone else's plans, because you guys are gonna absolutely need to set this shit up tonight or early tomorrow morning, because the place where you have been challenged is approximately a mile away. He did say to meet you in a clearing. He told you where to find him. So, and I believe he said he was going to do so at sunrise, which means you have scant few hours to get ready. You will have time enough to sleep, but you need to start putting those plans in motion. So, Dukan, your plans are like right out of the gate. Fucking go into bed and
Go to
figure
sleep.
shit out. Okay. All right, Dukan. So, you never really tried this before. In fact, as I recall, you've actively avoided anything like this prior.
I've been sleeping as little as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Dukan, you're going to make me a will roll. You can add Snakewise to this.
Oh, hell yeah.
And if you'd like, you can also add Lore Weasel.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, so
You may
that's
need it.
6 and my will, which is 3. Nice. Ooh, not nice.
Goddamn. All right. So that is 3 successes.
Damn it. I keep
All
going.
right.
Yes.
Let me see
Okay,
what
5. Yeah.
Okay, so you have... All right, cool. So you have 4 successes. All right. Which is good. Because... Okay. Interesting. All right. So, Dukan, describe to me what you're doing as you're going to sleep. How are you trying to make this happen?
So Dukan's got the serpent skull emplaced on his tortoise, right?
Yeah, it's basically your door frame now.
Yeah. So he is he's going like through that. He doesn't know what he's doing per se, but I would like to think that he's probably just burning some sage, telling himself over and over and over again, the next thing I see is going to be a dream. The next thing I see is going to be a dream. The next thing I see is going to be a dream. And then like pacing in like little circles clockwise a couple times and then counterclockwise a couple times. And then like laying down for a few minutes and then getting up and doing it again. And then like probably really antsy about it, like just nervous, anxious energy. Also, he really hasn't been sleeping that much lately, so it's like kind of early for him to go to sleep right now.
That's fair.
But yeah, he's doing everything he can to put himself in the right mind state.
As you're doing this pacing, eventually you hear that of the one of the little like the little door that separates you and Modi's chamber open, and you can see Modi's eye peering through it, and she says, "If you want this to work, if you're doing what I think you're doing, you must approach this as a predator. You're not negotiating. You're setting terms. If you want to have an audience, force it. You're a weasel, not a mouse." And then she closes the door on you. And after a couple of minutes later, you hear a very loud snoring.
Yeah, Dukan,
Right.
and he's kind of like curls up, kind of like a little weasel Ouroboros, and closes his eyes and demands an audience.
And after you put that will into your dream space, into the dark behind your eyelids, suddenly you fall. As if the ground gives out from beneath you. You plummet, hurtling downwards, uncontrolled. And then slowly, the falling stops feeling like falling. Falling is just weightlessness with wind. But eventually, the wind stops whipping, and you might as well float. In the distance, you see an image, not quite bright, as if in twilight. It's the vicar's skull around your door, but there's no door behind it, just the vicar's skull in that same position. And it slowly is getting closer to you, and it's kind of just slightly out of focus. Your eyes can't quite bring it into clarity, and every once in a while it seems to sort of jitter a little bit. And in the distance, you would hear this familiar voice trickle, as if from a great distance off. "I am trying to meet you. It is difficult. Death is no small thing, Weasel. Oh, slayer mine."
Dukan kind of like checks his posture, getting ready. Very shallow breaths, and then a deep one every like third or fourth.
Speak to your slayer like a serpent, and you will find death all over again.
Make me another will roll. Serpent-wise, lore weasel. Add them together. Good. So,
Fuck.
it's all right. As you do that, in the distance, slowly the skull closes its mouth. And behind it, you can see the shadow of a tail, skeletal, slowly moving, till it eventually rises upwards to its original shape. Yes. That's what I've been waiting for. Anger. Will. Good. So you needed something from me. What is it, Slayer?
Can we hard cut from me?
Sure. Okay. We're going to flip over to you all. Holy cannoli.
Yo, Timbo the Wizard raiding in with a party of 13.
Hey,
Oh my
Timbo.
goodness. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in. Welcome in, you guys.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys so much. Welcome to the party. So, as we, Timbo sitting some magic our way. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Timbo. Welcome in.
Heck yeah. So, we'll turn to the other two. What are you planning? What is your... What's the plan, man? How are you two planning for the big day tomorrow?
I'm not even sure, to be honest. I usually just try and whack things. Zion is not much of a strategist.
You can always talk to Giles about strategy. He might be able to teach you something. What a proposition.
Doubt.
Doubt.
I will go talk to Cedric.
Okay.
That's fair.
Seems smart.
Giles
Giles,
is a
what
simple
are you-
man from a simple land. So Giles needs a blacksmith, and that's what he's doing right now. He's fetching to him the smithy.
Okay. So, Giles, as you are going downwards through Vinecrawl, you find the large tortoise, which is the weasel's tortoise, bearing the large stacks of structures on its back. Even at night, it still glows with the heat of its forge and the distant sound of hammering from within its depths. As you see numerous weasels and hedgehogs and mice running about, all getting ready to prepare just in case the worst should happen and they need to defend themselves. As you approach, you can see one of the hedgehogs raise their hand. Oh, who goes there?
Giles of Wolfram.
Hmm.
I have need of your services, Hedgeham.
What can I do for you? And he steps forward, and you can see the hedgehogs compared to mice are big. They are about twice the height of a mouse, easily.
Is it my boy? Is it my boy?
Well, he's
Oh,
only
no.
about like 1.5 times my height.
That's true. You know what? He is, Derek.
It's my boy!
I actually just rolled it randomly. I was like, I'm gonna roll a luck die and see whether or not it is the boy.
Which one is this? Is this like Scrimothy? What's his name?
It's Jotto. You son of a bitch, it's Jotto.
Don't you fuck up my man. Yes, no, that would be Jotto. As
Man?
stepping forward from the expedition, from the hedgehog, you can see the verdigreed, otherwise painted red armor and the heavy, like jagged-edged fire pike that he carries about with him. His slightly grayer quills and the scars all over his face from where he's fought before. What can I do for you?
I need hooks. And I need a lot of them.
Hooks, you say?
Climbing hooks.
Ah, grapnels, then.
Aye, if that's what you call them.
You say you need many. Many is not an order. I need something more specific. What are you thinking?
Got like 20 people in my regiment.
In there, about double. Yeah, it's about 25 hedgehogs in there.
I'm an elite army. Let's see if Dylan's here. It's like in Warhammer, where you play Custodes. If Dylan's
Well,
here, I have. If he's not here, I have summoned him and be like.
To be
"Hello,
fair, I
I'm
think
Dylan."
I'm the Custodes. You're like Space Marines.
yeah.
I think there's more. I think there are more weasels than there are. My
There aren't actually.
No.
The
There
weasels the weasels are outnumbered by the
told.
Hedgems almost 5-1 for security reasons. In the same way that the mice outnumber both of the two of them almost 10-1. So they are a minority, but a powerful minority of the expedition.
Like we
The
are
next
all of the
expedition.
weasels. Like the only one that isn't like regularly around is Modi.
Yeah, pretty
That's fair.
much. Actually, the weasel expedition got even smaller because one of your 5 actually stayed behind on the mainland before you left. So
So
Did
fucking
you
Modi's
constantly?
just laying around sleeping,
yeah, just vibing.
just like me for real. So about 50. I need him tomorrow.
What time tomorrow? That's the big thing.
Morning, preferably.
Are the sun rises or after?
Whichever sooner. He's sort of saying that just like he's not an idiot. He's literally just saying that
Right.
to be like,
What are you capable of, basically?
yeah, like
This is the equivalent of walking into the car dealership and saying, "I'll give you $5,000, $5. I have a crisp Abraham in my pocket for that Ford." So let's see. I'm gonna make a roll on his behalf. I couldn't get that sort of thing for you by myself, but if you can make a case to Raphael, he could muster the Hedgems you need to finish that.
all right then. And if then you can't do the 50, maybe you can do it just for me. He'd show off his sword. I want this brought to a hook at its point. I have plans.
That'd be a shame. What a beautiful sword that is. And he walks forward and takes it. Mouse craftsmanship. And he briefly, it's not the size of it's like the size of a short sword to him. But for you, it's a fucking great sword.
Oh yeah, this
And he
is
kind of
taller
just
than-
like twirls it around a little bit between his fingers. Finely balanced. Who made this?
our enemy.
Our enemy's a cunning smith. It's not pretty. Not truly. But beautiful in the way that matters. Metal's tempered. He flicks it, and there's like a keening along from the blade. Folded at least a couple of times. From what I can see, yeah, even the handle. The handle was fitted while hot. He turns it and flips it and hands it back to you. All right, I'll do it. With one understanding. Afterward, I return the blade to its natural state. There'll be a hole in it, but be better without a piece of pig iron hook at the end. Unless you want me to permanently deface it. In which case, that'd be a shame.
It would be a shame. I want the one that made it to recognize it as I dig it through their head.
Right. Spike crafting. I'm familiar with that. All right. I'll do it just for that. And he holds his hand out to take the blade.
He'd be thinking about that. Like he was just also considering the fact that he could also probably just turning over his gauntlet to have each of the fingers like made into claws would be cool.
Oh yeah, like the Imperial Eagle gauntlet. Yeah, you
Like
could do
the
that.
like the Warmonger from For Honor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
Oh
like,
god.
like,
I
you
know
know her like
exactly.
grapples the
Mhm.
slash. Yeah, I want that.
Oh, that's good
I
shit.
changed my mind.
Mm.
Have a better idea. He'd take off his gauntlet, and he seldom takes it off in good company. His fingers underneath the hair never grew back on him. Right, they're just all the weird looking like skinless bony hand.
I agree with this choice. I always get out of bed to help someone else with a vendetta, but I prefer not to deface good craftsmanship for it. And he takes your gauntlet, looks at it. I'll have this worthy of grabbing something. By tomorrow morning. Shouldn't be too hard. Just be careful. Remember, I've modified it. Or else you'll scratch your bum and then remove your tail. Come with me. And he starts walking towards the interior of the tortoise. And inside, you can hear the clang, clang, clang of multiple forge smiths working at the same table. As you can see what appears to be a large central forge surrounded by about like 6 others in a ring. And you can see the way that they sort of work. They actually funnel their heat upwards to smaller forges above to heat those forges and whatever they're working on. But down at the bottom is where the greatest craftsmanship occurs. And there's 3 headgems, each with sledges, working in a ring to slam down something. They're crafting some weapon. You don't recognize what this is. It's clearly not for a mouse. Whatever it is. It's
I'm
bigger.
gonna say, whatever it is, it's not as cool as mine.
Yes. But working the forge in particular is the biggest headgem you've probably seen. You've recognized Raphael before, but Raphael and Jado are to scale with each other. Jado is literally head and shoulders above, or is head and shoulders below where Raphael is. Raphael literally towers over this other guy, and his quills at this point are almost pure white, with only the little hint of brown at the end. Despite his advanced age and his relatively rusty, heavily dinged up armor, he's swinging a sledge just as fast as his friends. And after a couple of pangs on this and Jado holding up his hand to get their attention, Raphael turns to the other two. All right, enough. Go get a rest. I'll take care of this later. And he throws at the apron he was wearing at one of them, and they just take it and nod and walk away. And Raphael walks over. What do you need?
I need hooks. Climbing hooks. What do you call them? Grapnels? I need a lot of them. I need about 50 of them. Morning time.
All right. Pray tell why. I'm not going to waste iron on a wild fancy.
Well, I'd wager they can be refashioned the caltrops when we're finished. But I need them for climbing trees. We're going to do an old Wolfram Sky Snare. And I need all my able-bodied might with me.
Now that's interesting. All right. I like where your head's at. In fact, actually. And he leans down, and he just gives you this. It's not quite a stink eye. A stink eye would imply hatred, but there's like an analytical kind of. He's taking your measure very clearly, and he's not being very discreet about it. You get the feeling Raphael's not the kind of man who operates out of subtlety. On your part, Giles, how would you want to present yourself to impress this dude? What would be the thing you would use for this?
Warfare, wild country wise.
I could see that. So, yeah, that would be militarist, wild country wise, or war wise, since they're both wises. You could take one of the two. If you'd like, you could use a trait as well. You've used tough, but you still have leader, tall, and I don't see any possible fucking way you could use weather sense to impress this guy.
I didn't use tough this session.
No, it's that's true. You have not.
I want to use leader. I want to use militarist.
Okay.
And I want to use wild country wise so I can level that up even more.
All right. Roll it out, buddy. Let's see what you get.
So that is a total of 11 dice.
Okay.
A lot of successes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 traitor. So that'll be 4 successes.
Perfect. All right. So, as you do this, as you sort of like straighten your posture up and present yourself like as every inch the leader, the Lord of Wolfram that you are, you know, you were not born to your station, you rose to it. And you'll project that power as hard as you can. And Raphael just sort of looks you up and down. We're trying a bit hard, are we? You succeeded. I rather like you. All right. Direct it is. I'll throw something else in. You said a snare? I assume you're going after something big. You're gonna need more than mouse rope. And he whistles, and nearby, one of the Hedgems working his side forge looks over, and he just sort of gestures towards a pile. Sort of makes a signal, and it's almost like a curly-Q signal. Like almost like he's drawing a circle in the air. And the other one just nods. And you hear this sound. It's almost like tinfoil kind of sound. As this Hedgem reaches behind the forge and pulls out this spool. And on this spool, this wooden ring, almost like a wagon wing, a wagon wheel, you can see this really thin metal wire. And he takes it and tosses it over to Raphael, and Raphael catches it and puts it on puts it down on the ground and leans on it. This right here, we usually use this for making springs and high tension rope work and wire work. You want to bring something down and not have it snap? This will be the stuff. I give it to you, Lord of the Wolfram. He sort of pushes it over to you with his foot. It's pretty big. It's almost as big as you are, but at least it can be rolled. Call it a gift between our peoples. One stalwart leader to another.
He gives him a nod of respect, like, yeah, sure.
I'll get on your order. However, you might want to avoid the tortoise for a couple of days. My apprentices will be right cross with you. Not that it fucking matters. I basically hold a lease on all your assets. And he just screams into the rafters, and a couple of Hedgems like peer their heads over nervously. Get to it! We haven't heard of a fill! Bang, 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 and he reaches up his hammer, just clangs on this heavy cowbell-like bell next to him. Get to the forges, men! Oh yeah! And they all immediately, like you see Hedgems like groaning coming from the rafters, like a couple of them putting blankets back where they came from as they all start manning their forges. We'll have your order ready. Be back before the sun rises. You'll probably have a cart with you. Jado, see him out. We have work to do. Aye, my lord. And he gives him this little chest pump salute, and Raphael returns the gesture and turns back and starts getting to work. And as Raphael walks you out of the tortoise, he leans down. You'll want a team of mice to help you unspool that stuff. At least 2 to 3. If it gives up its tension, it'll sever a limb easily.
Oh, I didn't plan on trying to do this by myself. That ain't wise.
He gives you a pat on the shoulder. Good luck, Giles. And, give Dukan my best. I don't want him to die out in the middle of nowhere without me being able to help him.
Couldn't kill him if you tried.
That's about right. The reason I didn't just try my first time I met him seemed too tough anyway. He's going to walk back towards the tortoise and leave you in the dark as you hear in the distance the clanging of metal and the showers of sparks from the top of the tortoise as the industry of the Hedgems is put to work for your will.
Well, that's my step one.
Hell yeah. Okay. Sienna, let's turn to you.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I'm going to go talk to my boy Cedric and see what advice he might have for me. Sienna's definitely never fought anything aerial before, so she's not quite sure what to do.
All right, that's fair. So, you would find Cedric. I figure you'd probably find Cedric on the Invicta. The mousy the mouse ship that you all are at this point quite familiar with. As the expedition has gone further and further, the Invictus become more and more of like a meeting place than anything else. And as you find that, you see on the command deck 3 familiar mice, actually. You see Cedric. You see, of course, your friend, the captain of the Invicta, and also the eponymous Post Mouse, and the adorable little bird, a little finch that he rides on, all sort of hanging out up there, drinking and chatting and seemingly having a good time. The crew lets you on board now. They don't ask for permission for you to get on board now. You're a patrol leader. So far as they're concerned, you now have authority to go where you will within the expedition without being questioned about it.
You're dang right I do.
They let you on board the ship and walk where you please.
We'll just go straight up to the group. Glad Preston's there. Haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, Preston is Preston definitely is there. You would see. I'm gonna roll a die to see who notices you first. As you get upwards, eventually you do see. It's actually Preston who turns their attention towards you, and he gives you a tilt of his tri-corner hat. Well, would you look at that? Pretty as the sunrise, and welcome aboard my ship. What can I do for you? And you can see Cedric next to him, just sort of turn. Oh, Sienna, good to see you, lass. How you doing?
Oh, Cedric. Preston. I almost forgot why I was here for a moment. I'm sure you've heard of the task that myself, Giles, and Yukon have to undertake. And I am hoping that perhaps my friends might have some advice or wisdom for me, as I am quite new to fighting something as large and fearsome as a hawk.
You would see Preston sort of look from side to side. Well, full disclosure, I've never actually fought anything that flies before besides the birds on the beach, and I hardly feel I'm qualified to talk about it since, for the most part, the Invicta did most of the work. Staying offshore and bombarding the beach was barely work by comparison to what you...
You were pivotal to our win, Preston.
I won't doubt that, but I don't think much of my skill set is applicable unless you also have a walking ship of your own, my dear. And he just sort of like fluffs his mutton chops, like with an air of like not quite superiority but pride in his ship. And
I don't suppose you'd let me borrow yours. Sion is clearly joking.
He sort of like does like that. And then he sees your face. You just like he just sort of leaves it at that. And Cedric turns. I only fought flying creatures a couple of times. And in fairness, one of them wasn't technically alive. Would you consider that one alive, Preston? And then Preston just sort of like holds his hands up. I intentionally did nothing in that fight. I'm still stunned that you managed to get through that. With who was it? Was that Jasper? No, that was Fen. Oh, right, Fen. Right, the bird rider, of course. Yeah. Either way, I digress. It was a bit of a mess. Rule of thumb, 1, they will always have maneuverability on you. Your job is to plant yourself somewhere they have to fight. So if you cannot maneuver them, ensure they come to you and you're prepared. 2, expect attacks from any direction, which means find the most heavily fortifiable position and be ready to scatter from it and regroup. They can drop on you from above, which means wherever you are, you need to be able to get out quickly or duck under quickly. And then finally, 3, I highly advise you use one of these. And he pulls out, and you can see a hook and line, which he frequently carries around. He's even depicted within the art. And he sort of twirls it. This little beauty saved my life more times than I can count. You might not be able to outrun it, but in a pinch, one of these might slow it down enough or give you the leverage to move fast enough to get around the threat. And then he pauses and looks over to his right, and you can see the post mouse sitting there with his blue cloak, sort of sipping on rum. And Cedric sort of lightly kicks his foot with his paw, and you can see the postman just like, what? Give our advice. You're the only mounted warrior here. All right, fine. And puts the thing down, stands up. Rule of thumb. If you're going to fight above the ground, don't drop. Grab on with a depth grip if you're going to get a hold of them. And finally, think like a bird. They won't approach you as if you're a mouse. They don't know regiments. They don't care for them. All your traditional conceptions of warfare are irrelevant. You're going to be playing cat and mouse, pardon the vulgar terminology, with these creatures. So, be adaptable. Be willing to make sudden changes. Don't be hidebound. They're not bound by gravity, and you shouldn't be bound by your battle plans. Oh, and finally, depending on the type of bird, don't give them an inch. If you see an opening, take it with zero remorse. A bird, a falcon, an owl, even a songbird. You let them get away, you won't catch them again unless they want you to.
Oh, thank you, everyone. I have much to think about. I believe I have some ideas forming. This was very helpful.
Cedric slowly stands up. Was this about what you needed me for earlier today?
Did
You know, the whole, like,
I
and he sort of gestures his cloak, which is now back to his pale blue cloak.
Oh, yeah, yes. I thought he meant Sayana specifically,
Oh, yeah,
not the
no.
group.
He would pause. I also may have something to give you. Could I see your mace by any chance?
Of course.
He takes it. Preston, I know you hate this kind of thing, but I don't really have a place of my own to work right now. Preston just waves his hand. I'm drunk enough to not care, brother. Go ahead. And he just puts the mace on the table. And he turns to you. Can I see your hand quickly?
Give it to him.
I want you to think about how you want this to end. In blood or in peace? But think hard. Which of the two do you choose? Death or life?
Peace.
Peace it is. I really hope Matthias wasn't full of shit. And he reaches down and grabs the mace. And as he does, he exhales, and his body just kind of shudders, and you can see the mace briefly glows. And your hand feels a slight static shock. Make a will check.
What is my will again?
Should be at the very, should be right in your abilities. There you go. Oh, nice. Okay, that's 2 successes, 2 sixes. Yeah, that's good. So, for a second, you feel this wave of heat wash over you. It's like being suddenly in the middle of a summer sun. Thank you, Naris. I'm going to have a drink. It's like being in the middle of a summer sun on the hottest day of the year. Stepping out of a cool burrow onto hard, compact clay. It's almost like, for us, it'd be like stepping onto hot tarmac in the middle of summer. There's this blast of heat. And After a second, it's gone. And Cedric lets go of your hand and hands you back your mace. And when you do see it, thank you, Neris, I appreciate it. Sleep tight. You can actually see there's something weird about your mace. If you want to make me a... I'm trying to think what would work good for this. I want to say... Make me a Pathfinder roll on this.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. A 6. Solid success. Like it's the success you need. So as you look at the thing, you realize looking at it that the weapon in your hands, it isn't the same weapon you had just a moment ago. When you look at it, it's almost like etched on it, but not when you look directly at it, only like at oblique angles. You can see symbols on it in a language that looks not unlike mouse script, but ancient, a different dialect than you're familiar with. And he hands it back to you. Be the last to strike it. And your will should be imposed. This is a will worker's blessing. It only works, though, if you're the one to use it. I can't promise you anything outside of it.
Thank you. I will do my best to see this is done.
You're doing a bang-up job, Saina. I'm sure you'll do fine. Do yourself proud before you do me.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, 3 old mice are going to sit here and get absolutely blinker drunk because this is the first night in a long time I haven't had to do anything vaguely like anything responsible.
You all have more than earned it. Were it different circumstances, I would join you, but much preparation to do.
We'll make sure to save you a tankard. They all hold up their mugs, sort of in like a cheers. And after that, as you leave, you still see like the light flickering off the mace. But it's not enough to illuminate anything, but it's enough to occasionally spot like the flicker of a firefly in the night as you walk off. So I'm going to ask you to, what are your plans abstractly for tomorrow?
I don't know why, but I started thinking we get leaves and we put that on our shields and on ourselves. That way we can strategically, kind of like how they would in the olden days, they would use their shields to kind of make like a semicircle to protect them from arrows.
Oh yeah, like a testudo, that kind of thing, where they make like the wall of shields.
Yeah, the Romans.
Yeah, I didn't know what it's called. So it'll act in 2 ways. We'll look like a pile of leaves, and then also we'll have the protection of our shield. So if he does swoop down, hopefully we'll be okay.
Mousy ghillie armor. I kind of like it. Yeah, you could do that. Entertainingly, this is going to be a good skill for weavers. So
Okay.
I will say for you, you're going to make me a scout roll for this one. No, you know what? No, a circles roll.
Okay.
You're going to make me a circles roll with the expedition.
Circles it is.
Okay. That's successes.
Not too bad.
Yeah, that's 2 successes. That's enough. So, as you get this idea, and it starts formulating in your head, like, yeah, like that would give you enough to maybe hide a patrol of mice easily. That'd be maybe not enough to overpower it, but enough to surprise it in the right situation. Having reinforcements in plain sight that they might not spot. But you realize very quickly, like, this is going to take a lot of weaving. This is going to take a lot of sewing skills that, while you are a bang-up chef, and a pretty decent leader, even an okay brewer and haggler. Weaving was not a thing. Darning was not a thing your mother ever really focused on. And your trainer, as helpful as they were, that was not their forte. So you spend a little time petitioning around the expedition and eventually gather about 5 tender mice, tender paws, as well as also like 2 actual like patrol mice, all of whom have a background in weaving. And with your patrol, you guys begin working through the night, literally like sewing this together. And they're basically like using twine and silk from the spiders and the silkworms of the expedition to make effectively ghillie wraps for your shields and cloaks. So that way you can like hide under them as need be. I'm going to make the roll on my end, and that'll determine how high quality they are. I will inform you if they are bad quality. You can use I will let you use rolls to modify mine, like in particular persona. I'll let you to reroll if you'd like.
Okay.
Actually, no. This is actually kind of embarrassing. One of the dice fell. Of course it did. In the dark. First, I'm just going to roll an extra die. So this is going to determine. Okay. Jesus Christ, that's 3 explosions. 4 extra. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, no, those are actually after a long evening of sewing and darning, and all these mice basically going like, "Okay, pass me string, now the needle, get me a thimble." Like they're all literally doing this, and you guys are basically running interference, getting them the cloth, getting them the leaves, that kind of thing. You have enough of these cloths, of these like ghillie wraps, for you and your entire patrol. When dawned, it will give you a huge strategic edge in battle.
I would also like to, if I can, get some of the hook and rope things that Cedric has. So for more of my mice. That way I'm not the only one with that weapon. I don't know what it's called.
Oh yeah, they're just
Grappling
called
hook?
hooks and line. There's hook and line is what the mice call it. And they are a very common weapon, actually, around the expedition. They well and truly realized how many beasts were in this realm. So they came prepared. And when mice can't kill something outright with sword and spear, 5 to 10 mice with hook and line might be able to immobilize something small. And that's kind of the defense they were going on before they started accruing all the crazy, ridiculously dangerous defenses that they have gathered over time, in part from all of you, too. So, yeah.
This motherfucker.
Yeah. You can get, like, enough to arm everyone with a hook and line. So, in addition to your current weapons, which I believe you have a mace and a shield, so you can choose to leave one of those 2 behind and take a hook and line instead.
The hooks, Mr. Squidward.
I need the mace, so I'm gonna take the mace.
Okay. If it makes you feel any better, in Mouse Guard, a shield is a weapon you select to use. It isn't like a sword and board in D&D where it's just a +2 to your AC. Like you have to choose elect to use it. So,
I mean, can I theoretically have my shield on my back?
you could bring it with you and lay it somewhere, but if you want to fight effectively, you will have to leave it behind. Mouse Guard shields are
Okay,
not
I was just
small; they are
thinking.
big.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking some extra protection. Like, if I can't protect my front with it, I'll put it on my back.
No. You already, as I recall, looking at it, I believe you don't have any other armor. You're just that. So yeah, it's probably like, yeah, you have an axe and a shield, no other armor. Yeah, it wouldn't let you do that. It looks like a big pave
That's
shield.
fine.
So, but the hook and line has some useful skills. I'll send that to you. I
Okay.
suspect you all will you'll probably be making use of it next session very shortly. I suspect this will be kind of the beginning of that battle. Okay. So, Cyanna, we have your ghillie suits and hook and lines for everyone. And Thom's actually familiar with this. This is his primary tool. He prefers using hook and line, so he can sort of show you all how to use it. I'll give you the stats for it by the beginning of next session. In fact, actually, I'll just...
Well, we have
Yeah.
the opportunity next session if we think of any little small things we want to grab to let you know about
Very
that.
fair. All right.
Okay. Mhm.
So, we go from Cyanna back over to Red. Was there any other preparations you wanted to make for the night?
Yeah, that's all I
For
wanted
the
to do. in the
night.
evening.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were still talking to me for some reason. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's the same though. You both basically said you're good.
I mean, we did our thing. I don't know what else Giles could do other than tell people to get ready to start scaling trees in the morning.
That's pretty much yeah. You can let your squad know, and they can get themselves prepared for it. You also do have a third squad, but you can give them orders in the morning. They have been assigned to you all, after all, by Gwendolyn under your personal command. That technically would fall under Cyana's personal command because she's patrol leader, but you all technically have joint command over them because they need to be at your disposal for this to work. Which means if you're ready, Derek, I will say we are on 2.5 hours. Derek, did you want to take a break?
Yeah, let's go to a break.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with the final part of this week of Malgard. I'm back. Thank you so much for patiently waiting. I surely do appreciate it. Omni, what's good?
Hello, everyone. We're back, and we are going to focus on our weaselly friend here. So, Derek, a little time has passed, my friend. You know that as well as I do. Not all things that were spoken of in the dark will be spoken of here, but this is not the only part of the conversation. However, after an undisclosed amount of time in your dreams, eventually the great serpent skeleton, looking in your direction, just sort of shakes its head and hisses at you. Enough. You didn't summon me to discuss the future. Desperation seeps off of you, Slayer mine. What do you need now?
We face a hawk.
My neighbor, Seer. You speak of Seer.
The very same.
Soft, that one. Weak among his people. Not in the way you would value him. In a different way. By his assessment, he is less hawk than he wishes to be. Many years amongst his people have made him more mouse than predator. And his people can tell it. And so can his master. This is a test for him.
Dukan knows that if any of his are caught in the open, they will be dead. This seems unavoidable to Dukan. Dukan needs the strength to make it count for something.
Then you should choose who dies carefully. To hunt a hawk is difficult at the best of times. But Seer, his claws are sharp, and his beak is swift. And despite his fears, he is no hawk. A hawk lord he does in body remain. You seek the strength to beat him. I give you a gift. It's only fair, O Slayer mine, that you receive what you have conquered. So, I give you my bite once. Your teeth will bring weakness and great pain, and if you wish it, death. But only once. And if you wish to make it count, you'll need a plan, Hunter. Seer does not often hunt weasels. But Gauntlet fears Vinecrawl for that reason. Even their shock troops aren't safe. Cunning is the order of the day. You must be serpent more than weasel.
Then it is good Dukan killed you.
And you can see the jaws of the skeleton slightly incline. Isn't it? My kind are looked down on by the beast empires. They think us weak, that all we have is our venom. But they miss the point. You see, to my kind. And he sort of slithers around you as he says this. and you can feel he's not crushing you, but his presence sort of swirls the darkness around you a little bit. To us, we have not the strength of bears, or the thick hide of tortoises, or the sharp talons of some creatures, or wings of hawks. No. We have the moment. Just one. And in your mind, you see hundreds of images of the vicar, starting off young, very small, a hatchling, and then a whip snap of him inclining his body and grabbing onto a bug and sinking its teeth in. And then it switches from that to a larger one, snatching a mouse, then a larger one than that, a hare, then a weasel, and then a fox. And this, over the course of years, you see every kill all the same, save for that final battle against you, where things truly got out of hand. You will have but a moment to strike, young Weasel Lord. Strike without remorse. Take your moment. It will be the only one you have. And if you die, I'll eat your soul before you go.
Dukan will see you very soon. Rest well, Vicar.
Greet the waking world for me, O Slayer mine, Dukan, Vicar Killer. And slowly into the distance, the serpent skeleton fades. And you find yourself sitting bolt upright like someone splashed you with cold water. You realize it's sweat.
Dukan will take just the briefest of moments and just kind of very quietly mouth the words, take the moment, and he'll get up and he will leave the room,
Okay.
go out to find the other two to make plans with them.
All right. So at this point, I'm going to ask you all, this is above table, because there will be a lot of preparations involved for you all. And I don't feel like making you go through every step of actually planning on a strategic action as mice with a battle map that we don't have, because this is going to be narrative warfare. And logistics, which I can't plan because I don't speak mouse and I don't have all the considerations of an adorable mouse army. But you guys can figure that out. So now that you're all together and you've all done your decision making, what battle plan do you all want to do above table? What's your goal? My goal is not to defeat you. My goal is to see and make sure I understand what you're trying to achieve so that it can be carried out most efficiently by the orders you would be giving and by the NPCs you would command, so I don't take what you want out of context.
We gotta tucker them out, then we gotta trap them, and then we gotta swoop in for the not kill.
Use the hook and lines to get his legs and then pull him down. Tie him up.
I think we also make bait. We got
I'm
this.
bait.
You're the bait. So, well, we were told that they don't often hunt weasels, so that might be a telltale sign of that you shouldn't be the bait.
I feel like that would make me all the more enticing.
Maybe,
In
but
fairness,
this guy doesn't seem like he's playing for sport right now.
in fairness, the vicar did issue a challenge to the three of you to fight, and he will. I can at least tell you this much: From his intention and what you can derive from what he said and from your experience, he basically gave you this is a duel between you three. Whatever tools you can bring to the battlefield, like he's going to allow, that's obviously going to imply like you're going to bring troops. He's not going to fucking fight you with daggers and swords versus a fucking hawk, like 8-10 times your size. But he absolutely is going to try to kill you. That is part of this. He's playing a duel, and the duel on his part has to be to the death. You choose whether it's to the death or to the pain or whatever else you might choose. So if he does see Dukan, he will absolutely try to kill him. Whether he's smart enough to know it's bait or not, yeah, you guys don't know too much about Seer in that respect. But it would be possible for Dukan to be bait if he chose. If he elected to be the obvious target and go the full guts route of, oh, hey, look, demons. That'll work. Like, that could potentially work.
So in that case, I guess I should build like a horizontal hammock like snare. So when he like dives down into it, it like catches him, and then we can like set it loose and just completely trap him. Pretty much in like a, like an actual Scooby-Doo type fucking trap. You know what I mean? Like, which would mean that it's double the work for my mice because they're gonna have to climb 4 trees instead of 2.
It would be possible. A snare like that, even if it only partially works, and you're only able to bind him to 1 point as opposed to like string him up to 4, it would at least restrict his movement. And that would mean you guys actually might have a chance of attacking him. Like when he's on the wing, unless you have like a brigade of archers, you're not going to do shit. And even then, there's a good chance his feathers might be dense enough to actually shrug off mouse arrows. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, the idea is to bring this thing to the ground, bind it, and beat it into submission.
So we let it grab me. I bite its leg. It's going to tire it out significantly. Then we lure it into Giles's trap, the tree thing, right?
I feel like
And
the
then-
trap is going to have to happen first because he's going to like, unless he's going to go for multiple dives.
If I'm weakening him, I could potentially direct him towards the trap. Because I'm assuming I would be in his grip. He got big old claws.
Oh,
If
yeah.
he grabs you in a way where you can't bite him, he could get like your neck in between.
I'm a noodle, dude.
I don't know.
Yeah, the grip of a bird is insane. Those things, the birds have insanely strong grip strength. No matter how
I will
noodly
say,
you
I know a
are.
bald eagle can actually descale a fish just by grabbing it.
Yes.
I've actually seen that. Hilariously, an eagle dropped a salmon on us when we were on a fishing trip, and like its midsection was fucking raw, like kind of insane. But this is a hawk, not an eagle. But its grip strength is still pretty fucking strong. To weigh in favor of both sides of this, there is a risk of that. If you're not careful, he could just snatch you up, and if he has control over the fight, you'd be fucked. But you're also, unlike an actual weasel in real life, a fucking sapient noodle, and you are also used to fighting beasts. So if anyone can reverse those grips or try to get into an advantageous position, it would be a weasel warrior. So that is possible.
I have heavy armor.
Likewise, also, you're going to be. If this guy is going to be on the wing. So if you want him to get near your trap, you're probably going to need to lure him there.
That's why I figured I would be the best bait, because I'm probably the only one here who stands a chance of getting taloned and not just insta-dying. Getting insta-fucking jibbed.
Yeah, Giles has a lot of health too, so you can.
That's fair.
But Giles is a little too old to be doing things like that.
I feel like, yeah, it would be if Giles took the hit, you'd be in ICU. If, on like a lucky roll. On a lucky roll, Dukan might just need a medic and to lay off an arm or a leg for a while. So it's a little bit more in favor of Dukan for raw power. And Sayana, literally, your moniker is the small Like, I don't think we need to.
Yeah, I'm not even volunteering. Just volunteering for suicide at that point.
It's just
Just like, don't worry, guys,
But
I got
also,
this.
the reason why I would want him to grab me is because I can bite him, and that I know for a fact that's going to significantly weaken him. If we can get that off early in the fight, then that means that all the better for us. That's less time that he has to fuck up our troops and us.
That's fair, but there is a chance you don't survive. Like a significant chance.
There's always
If that's a
chances.
chance you're willing to take, by all means. If you're gonna serve as bait, even if you do die, you do serve your purpose.
Whether you survive or not, I'm just saying be prepared for the fact that he might grab you and you're not able to bite him because of the way he grabbed you or the angle.
Dukan has heavy armor. If he grabs me by the head, I'll pop my head out of my helmet.
He'll just shuck you like a
I'm just
clam. Are you kidding me?
I feel like you're taking it as a given. Just saying, have a backup plan.
I'm saying that I will be able to finagle. If I am planning on him grabbing me, I will be able to orient my body at the last minute in such a way that will be advantageous. It's all about the moment.
Okay.
I gotta say, I do love the image of Dukan's head xenomorph jawing out of his armor to bite somebody.
Just like what are those fish called? The ones that like reach their fucking mouths out and just
I know which ones you're talking about.
Anglerfish.
they like literally distend their jaws to fucking.
Is it an
couple
angler-
of
oh,
them do
it's a moray eel.
Yeah, moray eels do that. Also, certain snappers do that. Snappers actually have like 3 sets of jaws, which fucking that freaks me out.
Jesus. fuck.
Yeah, no. If you ever had the pleasure or distinct displeasure of cleaning a snapper, and as someone who worked in seafood, I have. You think you can put your thumb in their mouth and it's a safe place to hold them until there's like 3 rows of sharp ass teeth in there, and they cut through your fucking.
I found
glove.
that out the hard way with a fucking
Mhm.
flounder.
Yep. No.
No,
Fish,
a sole. Those things
Yep.
have really long, sharp teeth.
Fish can't swallow the same way we do, so their mouths are filled with one-way teeth. It's fucked. So yeah, no. Anyway, enough me traumatizing myself about horrifying prior jobs. So in addition to other strategic assets you all have at your disposal, you have the snare, you have Dukan's bite, you have the grapnels, which you're going to be equipping your Wolframites with, I'm assuming, Giles.
Yeah.
And on your behalf, Sienna, you have the experience you've acquired, as well as also a mace, which is blessed with intent. So, strategically speaking, you chose life, not death, which means that if you hit the hawk with that, if that's the finishing blow, the hawk will survive the unbinding.
So we need to
Which
try
is-
to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
I think that maybe me and my troop should hang back until the hawk is secured so we don't give away our position.
You also do have the ability to, and this is the final strategic asset. I can't believe I forgot this. I didn't forget, I just forgot to mention it. Your troops are camouflaged. So you can set up basically an ambush wherever you would like.
Mm.
That's what I was thinking. Like somewhere near the trap. That way we could just pop out, whack him with the staff, and then scatter.
Okay, so I think I see how this plan is kind of forming. Dukan leads his small little band to taunt the guy because obviously we broke into his crib. So he's going to be like, that's fucked up. He's going to chase us. He's going to grab me. I'm going to bite him. Then I'm going to try to do my best to orient him towards where Giles and his troops have laid their trap. They'll spring their trap, move in to secure the burb, and that's when Sayana's and her troops will spring their ambush and put the final smackdown on him after we've all kind of done our part in tiring him out.
We have cannons, right? Like some type of cannon firing thing.
Those will
You
kill him.
have-
Is that only on the Invicta?
That's on the Invicta and on the Hedgem's Tortoise, neither of which are under your command. And that thing will fucking kill the hawk. One hit. Like
No, I was thinking like if we could jerry rig it to fire a net at the hawk.
Matthias did mention that black powder could be used as a propulsion tool.
True.
So if you wanted to have that as a backup, that's feasible. You could use the grapnels to set up the snare and then try a net and have like a an explosive launched, basically a net gun, like ye old medieval net gun on a
Yeah.
much grander scale.
So
But-
we'd be setting up to get him as he's hitting into the trap, or as like backup.
I don't know. I just came to me. I was like, "That's an idea."
good idea.
Just shoot a net at it. At him.
Wouldn't out, tie it up. I think that they're both good ideas. I leave that onto you. What you decide to choose, which of these options is the one you want to go with. But I think they're both excellent ideas. Having a plan in case your first plan falls through would mean you have a point of failure built in. So at least if you do have a fuck up at any point, because bad rolls, dice be dice, you have some flexibility in still achieving your plan without things going completely to hell.
I have a plan, a backup plan. We destroy the entirety of the village if we fail.
Why would we do that? We're trying to
No,
fucking
I'm just
get these people on
So-
our side.
Okay. They'll be on our side if they have nothing left to fight for. I'm just saying. We got to give them something to fight for. No, I'm not Napoleon Bonaparte. This isn't this isn't Scorched Earth. So I'm thinking that would be a good idea, though. But from a strategical standpoint, and so Sienna doesn't get mad at me again, I'm thinking that tree that I've already sawn most of the way through is if we can time it perfectly, could knock this tree down in such a way that it would hit the bird on the
Oh, that
way
would
through.
kill the bird.
I know, but it'd be funny.
No, we don't want
So-
to kill the bird.
So I will say, I'm going to put this out there
I'm a little sadistic.
that that's cunning. That's
I'm a
cunning
sadistic,
plan.
sadistic little character. I just
So
do the
unfortunately, the place where you'll be dueling is a half a mile away from. It's actually a mile away from Vinecrawl.
we decided
So-
where we're dueling. That's a thing.
Yes, he told you where you're dueling. It's a
Oh,
clearing about a mile away.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
don't have any recollection of that. My bad.
But that said, you bring up an interesting point, which is the fact that at the moment, despite the fact that your men have only been able to get part of the way through the tree, you do have still a tree that's partially sawn through that you had properly you'd mathed it out. I remember you made these rolls to make it work, where if you knock the tree over, it will knock into Vinecrawl and cause spectacular amounts of structural damage to it. That's still there. It's not finished, but it's there. I leave that in your capable hands of, how much you would want to use that knowledge. Now that the entire mouse expedition is here, cutting through that tree would be much easier. You're not just like 10 dudes in a hacksaw that none of you are trained in using.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, to what end am I gonna use that for, other than just actually just destroying the village?
That's fair.
I mean, but if I were to use it before the duel begins and kill him in his sleep,
I can also let you know he is not in the village. At nightfall, he took off.
I wouldn't figure. I'm just being a dipshit.
No, that's fair. That's very fair. I know how my players think, and sometimes it's fun. So I enjoy these flights of fancy because you never know what plans might come out of it. But right now,
oh, delightfully devilish, child.
delightfully devilish, Seymour. It does sound like you guys have a plan then. Which
I like the
is
plan.
Dukan be bait, Dukan be bite. Bird lands,
Bite
you
bait.
lure bird over to snare,
Lure bird.
snare or net grab bird, and then Sienna and commandos all pop out and go bonk, 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 bonk until birds submit. Yes,
Take out the
literally
big
go to sleep,
stick.
go to sleep, go to sleep meme. So yeah, I think that's a workable plan for me. I now understand
I
your
like this
goals. Okay, so I feel like if that's the case, we're going to open up not in the night, but on the morning. And on the morning, as the dust slowly settles, as the dew begins to bake off of the different plants nearby, we see a clearing, a meadow. In the middle, some simple gray slate rocks. Surrounding it, a number of trees. And as the wind blows across the meadow, you can see a single lone figure standing on that stone, clad in bone armor with a halberd. And in the distance, the silhouette of a hawk against this rising sun and a piercing scream over the veil. And it's been 3 hours, and we're going to end it here.
Woo! Shit. That's hype.
Oh.
Hell of a
Can I
session.
just ask before we end if we recognize the figure?
Oh yeah, no, it's 100%. It's absolutely our boy. It's our boy.
It's me.
It's the boy. It's Dukan.
I've got bone
Oh,
armor.
with the halberd. Okay, I didn't know who had a halberd, so I was like, "Who? I don't know."
Yeah,
who that
technically
is.
it's a broken axe,
Okay.
but yes,
It's a broken great
halberd.
axe, but yeah, it's a halberd.
Gotcha.
Thank you guys so much for playing tonight. Genuinely, I loved every minute of this. I
Dude,
love you
this was
guys.
awesome, man. Love
Hell
you.
yeah, man.
Bomb ass session as always.
I pass it back to you, DMDM Studios.
It's your boy Dim Dim. Thank you, Omni. That was fantastic. Always love Mouse Guard. Cannot wait for more. Super exciting session. Super exciting to see what just the future of the campaign. You know, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be cool. You're not gonna want to miss it. Let's do our round robin thing. Natalie, where can people find you?
I'll be here this Saturday playing Covet with all these awesome people. And then the following Saturday playing Covet with all these awesome
Hell yeah.
people. Then the Monday after that on Brett's channel, we're playing Pathfinder in his homemade world and setting, and everything is all red and all awesome. And then Wednesday, back to Mouse Guard.
Hell yeah.
And
Awesome. Well, thank you, babe.
we'll see what
Hell
happens.
yeah. We're gonna be successful. Never didn't have it. Love you. Thank you for being here as always. I love you. I appreciate you. Red, what's good, dude?
Well, I'm Red. I'm one of the 3 primary colors. I'm a content creator here and Twitch on Twitch and Twitter. What else? I don't know. I just kind of work here. I make things. I play Magic the Gathering on Tuesdays. I'm going to be live tomorrow with. Oh my God, yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. Jesus, I'm going to be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. with Call of Cthulhu. Fucking God. And we're going to get back to that. Going to be maybe a little bit of a longer session. We'll see how we're feeling. Probably going to be about the usual, like 2.5 hours. But that
Was it 1
evening,
p.m. or 2 p.m.? I think Alex said 2 p.m. No, that's right, for EST. Sorry.
EST, yes. And yeah, 1 p.m. CST for me. And I'll be on Kurohitsuki's channel at like 9-ish, playing some Commander.
Oh, yeah.
I should probably talk to him about the power level of the deck, because I have some pretty spicy decks. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be up to. I'm also doing a casting call for a game right now called Band of Blades. It is right up my alley. If you know me, it's like a group of soldiers that are retreating from a loss against a battle against the undead. So yeah, if you have every other Monday potentially available to you, every other Monday evening, I considered trying out. I'm always looking to meet some new people to run games with. So yeah, new people will be prioritized. So I don't want anybody that I know to be upset that I didn't choose them.
No,
I
man,
want
dude.
to get,
Absolutely.
yeah, I want to get new people into the
Get
sphere
some fresh
and stuff
blood.
like that. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
and that's not to say I won't have some familiar faces, but yeah, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Dude, hell yeah. Love you, buddy. Thank you for being here, man. As always. Much love to you.
Thank you.
Also, Red has like hella proxies and other cool
Oh,
stuff. That you
Yeah,
Yes.
I got these and this one. Just message me. I'll probably send you a copy or something. I don't know.
They're super
yeah.
fucking cool. Seriously.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Omni, what's happening, buddy?
Hello, everyone. I'm the Last Omnitech, your favorite robot American, and you guys can catch me on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/The Last Omnitech, all one word, or at my Twitch, Twitch, at the Last Architect, all one word. I keep the same handle everywhere. So same thing with Instagram as well. I'm starting to post on Instagram because Twitter is falling apart at the seams, and we're not going to get into that. But you guys can catch me on my own channel doing world building, art streaming, rule smithing, and also occasionally doing hangout streams. Speaking of, tomorrow we have the Breakfast Club at 10:30 a.m. EST, where we vibe, talk about what's going on in the community at large, whether that be nerdy, direct stuff, TTRPG, or in our local circles, as well as also just vibe and play video games. I've been playing Sonic Frontiers because it's fucking fun, and the music kind of slaps in parts, which is kind of funny. In addition to that, you guys can catch on my channel on every other Thursday, not this one, but the next one, Wild Skies of Etanria, with a couple of amazing players, including Derek and Red when he can make it as a Free Marches player. Our Lighter Than Air Pathfinder 2e adventure, as well as also Dylan and my fiance Bon. And every other Saturday, you can catch me running the Legacy First Flight campaign, which is our Fast and Light TTRPG campaign. I've been working on this game system for 20 years. This is the alpha. I'll be releasing the beta to all of you guys as we play it further. I'm super excited. My players last session literally just got a hold of a device that could potentially shift the balance in this arm of the Milky Way, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with it.
We're nomads now. We live amongst the stars. We will never set down roots anywhere because everybody's going to hunt us for it when they find out that we have it.
I highly recommend you all tune in. Shit's about to go nuts. And as always, you guys can catch me on this channel and a lot of Derek's APs, and on Red's channel, and almost pretty sure most of his APs. I love you guys immensely. This is a pleasure to run this game. And my final shout out to everyone out there who's interested. I cannot recommend this enough. The Mouse Guard TTRPG game. I am not sponsored. This is a joint thing between the Burning Wheel folks and David Peterson, who's an amazing artist and made the super cool, low fantasy, dark, gothic / medieval style mouse setting. So if you ever want to run a game like this, pick up the book. It's super good, super easy to run. It's all in one book. There's no expansions to pick up. It's just one. It's great. And if not, check out the comic books. They're fucking awesome. If you like graphic novels, you'll love these. And that's me. Thank you guys so much. I love you all.
Love you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for running such a fantastic game. So much fun as always. Cannot wait for more. Well, I am sponsored. If you didn't know, you can get yourself 10% off a custom DMDM dice. I can't even say my own goddamn name right. DMDM Studios dice case by going to ko-fi.com/theshadysale and using code RPGINN at checkout. They are beautiful. They hold a full set of 7 dice. They absorb sunlight and glow in the dark, pink with necromantic power. And they also are a very cute little fidget toy because they have magnets, so you can go like... pretty cool. But yeah, we're going to be raiding out into Rolling Thundiga. Thank you again to Natisha of the Shady Sale and to all of them have one. I got them.
Hell yeah! I fucking love this thing.
Yeah. So thank you again to everybody in chat for being here. Nick, thank you for the resub. Love you, buddy. Natalie, thank you for the resub. Love you, babe. Major shout outs to Timbo for the raid. And yeah, I'll see you guys again next on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for Darker Stars, hosted by Souls Rolls. On Saturday, Booty, we have Piratical Pathfinder Adventure at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday, we have Covet Syndicate, which our players just got a wish spell. So we're going to see what they're going to do with that. And they might even decide to just sit on it. I don't know.
Lock it in a chest and stare daggers at each other while we all contemplate how we would use it.
I know what I want.
25,000 gold pieces is the
a sandwich
value. Jake the dog. Jake the dog moment. And then on next Wednesday, I guess would be the next time we'll be live after that. Is that right? That's crazy. Okay. Next Wednesday, after Covet. It doesn't feel right, but I guess that's right. Yeah. I see you. I love you. Death Watch next week. Bye.